Three, two, one. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Workout Gamer podcast, the Final Fantasy Battle Royale. Today, I am joined with my good friend Daniel,
How's it going?
and we're two big Final Fantasy nerds. Go and explain your history with Final Fantasy,
So
your
for
background.
me, I didn't get into Final Fantasy until my friend in high school. I think it was a freshman. He really wanted me to play this game Final Fantasy, and he had an extra copy of it, and I helped him out with his homework a lot. So he actually gave me this. This is my first Final Fantasy game I ever had.
Yo,
It was Final Fantasy VII for the PC. With that open up flap, which is the first
dude.
Final Fantasy game I ever had. And it's funny, for that version, I got all the way to the final boss, and I could not beat Sephiroth on the PC. So eventually I would go and get like the...
Oh, Daniel cut out a little bit. He'll be back. But up.
I think I just crashed. Are we still
Yeah,
live?
we're still good. We're still good.
We're still good. Okay. So, camera. And
We're
there we
back.
go. Okay. So I don't know what happened there. But I got all the way to the final boss. I eventually got on PlayStation 1. And it's funny because in this version of the game, the
Mhm.
final boss theme of One Winged Angel does not have the Latin lyrics to it. So when I tried it for the first time on PlayStation 1, I'm like, okay, I'm finally ready. All of a sudden, this Latin choir starts singing. I'm like, what's going on? And eventually, I loved it so much that Anime Expo 2009, I actually cosplayed as the final boss of Safer Sephiroth. Is like one of the first cosplays I ever made. A really, really bad looking one in hindsight. But now he's in Super Smash Bros. That's his final Smash. So it's that's my experience with it. And then eventually throughout college, I would play like 1 through 10. Loved those games. And eventually, I played the Final Fantasy 13 trilogy as it was coming out new. The only experience I don't have is I never played 12. I tried getting into it. It was just so different, and I just never got around to playing 15. So that's the only. I
Mhm.
feel like I would want to play 15 because I heard it's like, oh, with DLC, it's great with like play the Royal Edition. But that's the only one that I haven't done that I really want to get around to getting. And 12, I'm like, if it happens, it happens.
So tell me, what's your favorite and least favorite? So we know there's no bias of.
No bias. Okay. My favorite all time is Final Fantasy VII,
Okay.
but I always, whenever anyone asks, oh, what's your favorite? I say, whether it's JoJo's Bizarre Adventure or Final Fantasy, these are the two like come up a lot. What's your favorite? I always say I have a favorite and I have what I think is the best. My
Okay.
personal favorite is Final Fantasy VII, but what I think is the best Final Fantasy overall is 6. That's my personal opinion.
Okay.
And I know that you're a big fan of Final Fantasy 9 as well, I
I
believe.
am. And I completely agree to that statement. Like, for example, I love Majora's Mask. It's my
Yeah.
absolute favorite, but I understand that Ocarina of Time is a masterpiece. There's no question about it.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Exactly.
I feel the Majora's Mask is it's my favorite game because of the themes and everything. But of course, you can't deny what you can't deny what it is. You can't.
Exactly.
But now, what's your least favorite?
Oh, goody. This one I had to really think about, but Final Fantasy Dissidia has actually increased my love of the Emperor from Final Fantasy II. But if we're not counting it, Final Fantasy II is by far my least favorite, bar none.
That one's
It
hard to
is
play.
just it's hard to play. I played the GBA version, and I'm told if you play the NES version, it's near unwinnable at certain points near the end game, where it's like, oh, you always get ambushed on this one tile, and unless you have like 3 of the 4 ribbons equipped at that point, your party just falls asleep, and then they just have an attack that hits all who's asleep and just kills you instantly, and it's just awful, awful. But Dissidia did the Emperor so right, so I have fond memories of it, even though playing it, I did not have any fond memories. I remember, because in that game, you didn't level up by grinding. You got leveled up by smacking your own character in the game. You can attack your own characters, and if your character lost HP, they gain HP. So for like 2 hours in the break, while I was off on a class, I remember I was just like constantly hitting my party, and getting really strong. And I did that at the very beginning of the game. So Min Woo, who's like your first party member as your fourth character slot, was like 5,000 HP Min Woo. I'm just like, wait, why did he die in a cutscene? I'm like, you're ridiculously strong. And then finally, I think the fourth member of your party, I think Leon is his name, shows up and he has like 2,000 HP. I'm like, wow, this guy's just a little brittle piece of nothing.
We are joined by my cat today, but
all right, what's Cat's name?
CL.
CL. All right.
All right. She does this in every stream. It's
Every
terrible.
stream.
It's all when I'm trying to play Overwatch and it's just like, please don't hit my arm. Please don't hit my arm. But yeah, as you said earlier, my favorite is 9. It is honestly the one that I hated that I had to finish it. I love the character so much. I love the story.
Agree.
And then I actually made a D&D campaign based off of it. So I took the story and I was able to convert it to D&D, and my players loved it. And I started with Final Fantasy VII. And then every year when a Final Fantasy came out, we would get it. So 7, 8, 9, 10. And then it was like yes or no, depending on where we got the next ones. I think I've played almost all of them. I haven't played 5. Do I have the? There's a gaming store. I don't know where it is. There's a gaming store not too far from me that you could buy and sell old and new games.
Yeah.
So I got the FF9.
Oh, the Black Label.
Black Label. I have FF8.
Also nice.
Black Label. I also have the anthology with Final Fantasy 5 and 6. And it comes with a music CD. It's somewhere around here. I have to look for it. But
I remember in those anthologies they have the CGI cutscene when you start the game and when you beat the game.
Yeah.
So that's fun because it's like the only time in like Final Fantasy 5 and 6 where I'm like, oh, these are like 3D rendered characters, and that's where the Warrior of Light showed up because they just said, okay, Final Fantasy 1, we need something, but we don't want to render a lot of characters, so we're going to render this guy in blue armor to fight this dragon, and they just said, okay, you're in Dissidia now. It's like there's no Warrior of Light in the original. It's just fighter, knight.
It's whoever you
black
want.
Mage, white mage. That's it.
Man, but then my least favorite is 12.
Okay.
12. The reason being is, I'm going to say this now. Even though you haven't played 12, Vaughn does not stand a chance in any of the scenarios that I posted towards you. Because when you look at it, I mean, like, Cloud is a soldier, and Vaughn is a kid on the streets who kills rats in the sewers.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way he's winning this. For me, it was just like Vaughn was not necessary to the story. A lot of the characters weren't. It seemed like a lot of characters didn't matter.
I'm keep telling that Balthier was really the main character of Final Fantasy 12. I think if I saw like a bunch of characters, be like, okay, that's Balthier. I think he has like a pistol or a
shotgun,
like shotgun, yeah.
But like, it's just honestly, it was Star Wars, but done way too long, way too boring, and yeah, as you said, the battle system, like, yes, change needed to happen, but it was like trying to be an MMO and a hack and slash at the same time. So for me, it was the first and only Final Fantasy game that I traded back in.
Yeah.
So for me, it was just that was a no-go. And my friends, a friend of mine actually was like, "Oh, it can't be that bad." So he downloaded it, and we're like, "Okay, let's see how long you play this." 20 minutes in, he was done. He never picked it up again. So let's go and get into this scenario. All
right.
Here are the rules. So first scenario is beginning of the game. As soon as you get control of this character, that's what you're equipped with. So if you have nothing, you have nothing. If like how technically Squall wouldn't have his GFs, because you have to go to the panel to unlock the GFs.
Yeah.
So as soon as you get control, that's the rules. No items. I said something else too. What did I? Oh, you have the
Um,
personalities, strategies, and who they are. So, like I said, Vaughn is a kid in the sewers who only kills rats, has no chance to someone with Cloud, who is a guy that had military training. So that's the first scenario, and we'll start there, and we'll go into the other scenarios. So we're going to choose the top three characters who we think are going to make the top three, and why. And let's see if we can come to an agreement. If not, we'll go to the next.
all right.
So you first. You got.
So for me, because the rule is put in place that the moment that you have control of the character is what you start out with. So part of me is thinking that the person that would have like the best time in this sort of combat would actually be Terra from Final Fantasy VI, because when you start the game, she's in Magitech armor,
I should probably take
and
that away.
okay, we can take that away. That will change my opinion, but
I will also
she
say,
is she has a slave crown
mhm.
on, meaning that she is kind of like completely zoned and completely emotionless. And we just the two Biggs and Wedge established that she just like burned an entire village without blinking. So she has no qualms about like, I don't care why we're fighting. I am here to kill you, and I have this giant machine that does like hundreds of points of damage, which is way more damage output than like any other character at the beginning of the game, with
Mhm.
the exception of potentially Cecil on the airship,
Mhm.
because Cecil like has like the dark armor, and he has like certain properties that I think were on the ship, if I recall correctly. Because I remember he's fighting like three Arahims. He's fighting like this giant winged beast like on the airship. But in terms of training, I'm going to go down the list because the way that I'm grading 1 through 10 plus lightning.
Yeah, go for it.
Furion is bottom of the barrel because when you start with him, you're in an auto lose fight. You have to lose against soldiers, so
That's fair.
he's done. Squall is like, he has professional training, but he just got his butt kicked in a cutscene to another student, which is unfortunate because he just has a sword. Um, Titus is okay. Doesn't have a lot of training because he's like, this is a gift from Jack to my dad. Because he's like, I don't know how to use a sword. Zidane has does well because he's a bandit, so he has steel. He has like a bunch of abilities, but he attacks in a group. Like you start with 4 people in the party, and they all have like different skills and such, but they all can use steel. But at this point, they don't really have anything to steal. Cloud is just coming off his. I'm shaking off my materia 5-year materia shower, but he does have Buster Sword. He does have training. He does have limit break access to Braver, and he does have one materia, which is Bolt, which comes with him. So he does one of the few characters that does have magic that comes with it. Bart's. I don't think if Bart's has anything special going for him. If we're talking Warrior of Light, we're talking Knight class, because I just assume we're just talking Knight class Warrior. And Onion Knight is just another one of those. At the beginning, is just one of those.
He's a
So
freelancer.
is a freelancer, yeah. And then Lightning has professional training, and at the beginning of the game, it's like I think the only time in the entire trilogy of the 13 trilogy where she has that. She can fall at any height, and then she has like a thing on her arm or something that she automatically bounces off a wall, so she can never take fall damage, which they implemented in Dissidia as like if she's in her EX mode, she can't bang against the wall.
Mm-hmm.
So currently, my top ones are Terra, Lightning, Cloud, Cecil, Squall's Honor in the middle. But if I had to choose top 3, I think it would be Terra, because she isn't mad. If are we doing Mad Tech armor, or we have to remove that?
No, we'll keep it because I have a night.
Okay.
This is making me think a few things and how that
Okay.
can and cannot help her.
All right. So mine, I am going Lightning, Terra, and Cloud.
Okay.
Just because Cloud in his mind has soldier training. Lightning does have soldier training. That Cloud and Lightning are like very,
Hmm.
very similar at the beginning of the game. They both get off a train. They're both like hired. They're both like soldiers who have abandoned their big multi-billion-dollar corporation. And Terra is just a nonstop killing machine in a killing machine with no rhyme or reason. And she does have the slave crown, but if they manage to knock off the slave crown off her head, she becomes like, oh, I don't know what's going on, and then she kind of loses all her powers.
Right.
So that is something. If they know to strike that on her head, because I don't think it would be a big weak power. I mean, sure they would aim for her
Hmm.
on the Majestic armor, and sure Zidane could be like, oh, that's cool. I want to like steal that piece of gold on your head because that's the only thing. Like, I want that. And if that happens, she is completely disarmed,
Hmm.
100% disarmed, because she just loses everything. So that's the only thing that's stopping me from having Terra win. It's just a matter of
What
uh,
ifs? Like,
what ifs. Yeah. So that was my reasoning for
okay.
start of game.
Now, because you said that with the Terra, I'm like, that makes me think of other things. Now, my pick of who would probably win the fight, my number one, I still have a top three. My
Yeah.
number one is Squall.
Really?
So here's the reason why. As soon as Cloud starts swinging his sword, this guy can swing this sword, this bigger than most of the people here, can swing it like it's a regular short sword, and like it's nothing. That's going to trigger a lot of people to kind of like, whoa, he's a threat. Also, you
Okay.
see the Magitech armor, that's a threat, and Cloud can easily just cut through a lot of machines. So that's where it can be, and also potentially be an area where like, how tough is this armor? I mean, we've seen Cloud cut through many things, but here's the other thing:
Okay.
Cecil, who's the Dark Knight, trained. He's probably
Yes.
going to go after the biggest. He's probably going to go after who's the biggest threat, possibly Cloud. Terra, same thing with what's her name? Lightning. She's probably going to have the same thought process. Like, whoa, that's a machine. That's a man swinging a giant sword that can probably slice this in half. But there's one other person we haven't thought of, and I know you haven't played the games. Noctis.
Okay.
He's Cloud and Noctis are actually my other two top picks because here are the reasons why. As soon as people see that Noctis can teleport, he's gonna be like, okay, we have big machine, man with big sword, and guy who can fly around the stage like it's nothing. These are the main threats that we need to take out. Squall's a strategist. The only thing I can think that might bother him in the sense of like oh no, my ego's getting to me, is if Lightning approaches him, who also has a gunblade, and Hair not is a little similar to Seifer, so he can be getting some kind of PTSD in that. That's the only like flaw I can see. Where Squall is like, okay, I see that, because Squall has been known to be a strategist. He would see all this. Okay, they're all taken with the big guys. What are the small guys doing? I feel he would take out the smaller guys, the weaker guys. Titus doesn't have, like as you said, Titus doesn't have a chance because, well, he's athletic, which would help him to an extent. But you know, if he's sword fighting with Squall, Squall's going to disarm him so fast and take him out. I feel Cloud has the ability to take out Noctis, and vice versa. Fourth place, edging in there, is also Lightning. But now that you have Terra, you have an armored knight, you have Terra, an armored knight, as Cecil, Cloud, and a teleporter. That's going to be the main focus. Now there is that instance where Squall can also join in that, but if he knows that, like, I'm hurt, I need to reassess things. I feel that's where Squall's strategy comes into play. Plus his limit break, he's essentially he could do from 4 to 8 hits.
Yeah, he does have Renzo Kukin at the beginning of the
I don't
Renzo
think
Kukin,
anyone
right?
could survive that. When it comes to
Sheer damage output.
yeah, so we got a comment. I wish I was a Final Fantasy fan. I could follow along better. Hey, No problem. It's kind of like a uh, just I just so happen to know what you guys are talking about. So essentially, right now we're talking about a battle royale. Three scenarios. We're in the first scenario. As soon as you get control of the character, that's what we're currently talking about. So, but yeah, going back to it was I feel because Squall has the best limit break. He's also a strategist, and because there's already so many threats on the field, he can take a step back and wait till they take out each other. He takes off the smaller guys, and whoever's left, he takes on.
Okay.
That's my
Another
winner.
point that does kind of matter. What kind of a battlefield is this? Is this like a train yard? Is it like a grassy field? Because that seems to be like where Final Fantasies start, either off of a train or just in like an open area with like maybe like water
Just to make it fair, open
or a
area.
water polo stadium.
And yes, Clouded Jester, this is all hypothetical. This is like
All hypothetical. This is all
fan
just
theory and everything that we would think and why. But yeah, it would be an open field. It would definitely be an open
okay.
field just to make no one gets an advantage.
Right. Yeah, so Furion, I love how Furion's just like bottom of the barrel because
Yeah.
he is designed to lose the first fight, and I'm sorry, but it doesn't seem to be a trend that will get any better throughout the night.
No. So my top three are with Squall being the winner, Cloud and what's his name, Noctis.
Noctis. Okay.
Your top three was who again? Terra.
It was Terra, um, Cloud, and Lightning. Just because Terra is an unstoppable killing machine in an unstoppable killing machine. Because at that point she can like also like use fire and burn,
Mm-hmm.
as well as use the magic tech and just like fire energy beams like everywhere. And at early on in the game, I'm not sure. I mean, sure, Cloud's literal first boss fight is like a guard scorpion.
Mm-hmm.
Now I think about Lightning's first boss is also a guard score. Oh my gosh, the comparison,
They really try to recreate.
I knew they were
Cloud.
alike, but
they
yeah,
really try to recreate Cloud.
yeah. Cecil was also kind of high, but it's funny. I went back and it's been a while since I played 4, but I was watching. He's just like, okay, his attack is attack, and then Kane's just like, I have attack and jump, attack, jump. That's it.
And even if you did give him the Dark Knight abilities, it would hurt him.
Yeah,
he can't afford that in the beginning.
As far as Squall goes, I don't think he would actually come out on top here.
Okay.
Just because he just got his butt kicked by Cypher at the beginning of the game. He's in a hospital bed with a scar. Be like, oh man. I mean, sure, it's like you can have all strategy and you want, but when it comes to it in a 1v1 fight, even if he goes against like the last person, if the last person's Lightning or Cloud or Noctis or Terra, I'm just like, I don't think he's coming out on top in that fight. So he could potentially make it all the way to the end, but I don't think he's coming out as the grand champion.
Fair, very fair. I will say this when it comes to him and Cypher, it was actually supposed to be a training scenario, but of course they don't like each other.
All right, he did do the fire thing.
He did cheap shot him. So
yeah.
And then when he was down, he came up and just sliced him. So what was supposed to be a training scenario turned out to be I'm just gonna be the jerk that causes fight energy. So that's my counterpoint to that would be, it's not necessarily he probably got his butt kicked. He got cheap shotted during a training session.
And you're right, because we at this point he'd be like, okay, this guy has a sword, and I can see it. I can tell. I can go duel this guy one-on-one. We're dueling his swords. All of a sudden, boom! Surprise! Fire attack. But that could also be the same for, say, like Cloud is like, we're fighting. Boom! Surprise! Bolt.
True. Very true. And like,
but I can see him making it near the end, if not the final 2. But I personally just can't see him coming out on top, winning. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Like, I could agree to that.
In terms of tactician, I could see Squall being up there. Like, I don't think Cecil wasn't that big of a tactician. He was more like
he was a slaughter man.
he was a slaughter man. It's like, hey, you're our strongest person. Go to this village and burn it down. And just he's like, okay. I mean, what am I fighting for? Yeah, I got
um, yeah, I can't like your choice in Terra really like changes some of my perspective. Like, that's right, she's just a mindless killing machine at the moment. Um, I do agree with Cloud. Now, how do you feel about Noctis?
I don't know him
Mm-hmm.
enough at the beginning at the game, but I do know how strong Noctis becomes. I've seen like kind of the final fight with him and Arden, like basically just teleporting around the city and like
Mm-hmm.
almost like a Dragon Ball Z style fight, just flying around doing crazy stuff, like almost like Dissidia,
Yeah.
but with a lot more teleporting around. If he, does he start that way? Does he
Yeah,
have like
he can
the one
teleport in the
weapon?
beginning.
Oh man, that's so good. Um, potentially, if I knew Noctix better, I would probably have him in my top 3, potentially even winning, or at least in my top 2. Because he could just teleport behind Terra's because the Magitech armor is pretty darn fast. Because you see them they're marching like
Mm-hmm.
faster than a human would. But if he could just teleport behind, he's like nothing personal, kid. Just slash Terra. Because she will literally just be like this in the Magitech armor and not register that he's behind him
Right.
or behind her.
She doesn't have all her senses,
Yeah,
and that's why I feel the probably two people that can probably stop Noctis would be Cloud and Lightning, because they would like, okay, he's going to teleport now, boom. Probably like calculate where he would show up in. I mean, Cloud's a tank already, so
yeah.
yeah, that's uh, so that's where that is right there. But
Okay.
any final thoughts on the first round? I feel a common ground was definitely Cloud is there.
Cloud is there. He's just starts off like he's a bounty hunter. They are Avalanche is a terrorist organization who is paying a bounty hunter to help them be a better terrorist organization. If you think about it.
Hey, it's true. That is true. But yeah, no, I agree. The top three, Cloud has to be there. Um, the one, just yeah, Terra. I didn't think about the whole not having emotion or just being controlled. I'm like, huh, okay. But yeah, that was pretty cool. I like that.
That was a lot of fun. Now we got 2 more
We second scenario.
scenario.
So from start to finish, uh, so all their gear that they would, and here's another thing with that. So start to finish, no side questing. The items you can get from going beginning of the game to end of the game. When I mean by items, I mean like equipment, stuff like that, things you could learn, abilities. You can't side quest. Also, you have to take in their canon into consideration. So I'll go and start with this one. What I mean by that, my top three changes drastically,
Okay.
because Cloud would not use Ultimate Weapon because one, that's a side quest weapon. Not only that, he wouldn't change out from the Buster Sword. He'd probably upgrade
I
it,
agree with it.
but
Yeah.
he wouldn't use anything else. Also, he wouldn't use materia because, as we've seen in Advent Children, and also in the game, it discussed that materia destroys the world. He wouldn't use it out of his good conscience. He might have cure on him just in case, but even then, he wouldn't use it. So he's actually he gets depowered so much solely based on equipment. Now he might have ribbon where it's like you're immune to things. He might have like a really good armor piece, but his sword would be lacking. So all of his skills and abilities, which aren't learned, they're materia based. He's out. Um, Squall doesn't make it because he wouldn't use GFs. If he had prep time, he would. They have clearly discussed that we're not gonna not use them. We have to use them in order to save the world. Uh, but because we're not, I'm not going to have it equipped or I'm not going to use it. Um, my top three, my top three turns out to be Terra, Zidane, and Lightning. Reason for Terra, because of her limit break. she can absorb pretty much magic, half the magic damage, and send it back twice as powerful.
And she
Uh,
has dual cast. Yeah.
so she, like, I don't think her hand to hand combat skills would be there, but um, if magic's the thing, that's her forte. Now everyone else probably does have magic, but probably not as strong as hers. So and she can fly. That's another added element. Zidane, reason I chose Zidane, is because a lot of his weapons can be bought or synthesized. So, they're not necessarily side questing. You could just like, okay, I just got to buy this and this, put them together, boom. And you get like super awesome abilities, which are super powerful. Uh, like how much you can max out your damage immediately and target multiple targets. His limit break not only makes his physical attack stronger, but it also makes his abilities way stronger. So for that alone, it's like, if he can hit everyone, unless they have some kind of special armor resistance, they're going down. Not only that, he's also fast, he's quick. He's probably the smallest target out of everyone here. So that's where he kind of gets the boot. That's where he kind of gets the upper hand. And the last one is lightning. I feel lightning might have the edge here, depending on armor and stuff like that. But when you can have Odin and summon Odin as your ability, yeah, that's kind of hard to
That's
argue
pretty good.
against. Because it's like, well, not only you have Odin that's fighting alongside with you, you're not just fighting one soldier, you're also fighting a god along with you doing this. So those are my choices. How about yours?
All right. So this will be very similar to my 100%, but
Okay.
the top three that I have, from start to finish, it's funny that one completely outweighs the other two, but I gotta choose two of them.
Okay. Oh, this one sounds like a tough one.
The second one, this is the hardest of the three ones I have to rank. Therian is always going to lose. Warrior of Light is good in a party of 4, but they can. It's like, oh, I choose the Knight, I can never heal. I choose the Monk, I can never heal. I'm the White Mage, I can only cast Holy. And I'm going to run out of MP really fast.
Mm-hmm.
Cecil is good because he's kind of like a red mage because he eventually does learn
It's
like
like a
the low
paladin.
level healing. He's like a
Yeah.
paladin. Bart's hasn't mastered all the classes. Like he's probably like mastered like a couple, but it's nothing like straight out of the ordinary. Terra does have access to her Esper form, and she's I think the only character that can just legitimately fly, if not Noctis, because unfortunately I can't rank Noctis in this.
Right.
Terra's high up. Cloud is not that much stronger than he was at the beginning of the game. Like, if you think about it, he's really not that much strong. So I'm actually not going to include Cloud here.
Okay.
Squall does keep getting stronger, and his weapon, like he doesn't have a strange attachment to like the Buster Sword like he has to Lionheart, or sorry, not Lionheart. What was
His
the first one?
gunblade. Yeah.
His Gunblade, yeah. Zidane can transform again. So for me, it's gonna sound like a broken record, but Terra, Zidane, and Lightning as well for
Oh
me.
wow.
Just because Zidane can access his he can transform into his what was it called again? Like the
The
pink
trance.
monkey, the trance, right?
Yeah.
I didn't know if his had like a special name for it. Because him and Kuja can both do that, and it gives them like crazy stat powers. Terra can fly, double cast, and at the end of the game, she's like fully cognizant of like everything around her. And Lightning is just strong in general with Odin
Mm-hmm.
because she is permanently bonded to Odin at the end of Final Fantasy 13. The one thing that I think might be kind of weak against Lightning is if we're going at the end of the game, the tattoo on her arm is like almost at 0, and
Mm-hmm.
after she assuming that it's like at the end of the game, she has like only a limited amount of time because as soon as they beat the final boss, she transforms into a Lassie or a Seath, or I think it was a Seath, or
It's like
she transforms
Seether
like one
or
of those monster things.
right,
Yeah,
right, right.
right, like literally before the orphan fight, but after they fight a Bartandalus phase 2, because that's her time expired, and you can't summon Odin if as soon as you're a Lassie, is when you lose it, Odin's gone.
Hmm.
So she is like on a time crunch, and that's the only thing I can think of because at the end of the game, so literally during the final fight for her in the between the second and third phase of the final boss, she loses that.
Oh wow. Okay.
So she is on a time crunch. So Zidane is really fast, and
And
Terra is just.
let's
I,
put it in
I
this
think
perspective. Like who would come out on top? If that's the case, I feel then Zidane would come on top. Not
I
because I love
I'm
Final
thinking
Fantasy IX,
Zidane.
but when you put it onto perspective, what's Terra other than just Kuja?
Yeah,
She's essentially
Zidane. She's
Kuja.
just Kuja. But I will say this about Final Fantasy, just like, oh, we have a weapon, we're gonna bang the final boss a bunch of times, and eventually we win because I think Alex said this best. Big sword clank hard is just, and then eventually you win. Um, I think I want to give it to Zidane. Zidane is just a lot more well versed and powerful in this form because
Hmm.
he's always been like pretty smart and like agile and like he's a like Cloud really never got a major boost personally. Squall never really got a major boost. Assuming we're like he never really got Lionheart unless he played a bunch of card games, but that's grinding. That's level grinding.
That is
Um, but Zidane automatically will get the trance. Like
right.
that's just him. And his weapons are just most of them are just they're in the shop. It's like his second most powerful weapon is just like I think a Moogle sells it in the final world.
Yeah.
So okay, I'm just gonna buy that, and I think I want to give it to Zidane. Lightning is up there, but Lightning is on a time limit, and if there's 11 to 12 people in this battle arena, eventually she's just gonna lose control and turn into a Seath
Hmm.
at the end of this. And that's my ranking. I think it's Zidane, Lightning, and Terra as my top three
Okay.
for this scenario.
I will agree to that because with Zidane, as soon as he gets a trance, it's game over because yeah, he could hit multiple people with his ability, and most of the time, by the time it's the end of the game, you max out. You just max out damage. Um, and what's as I said, what's Terra other than just another Kuja who has less battle prowess?
Yeah, I feel like I could actually, even not playing 15, I've seen the end of 15, I could probably swap out Terra for Noctis. I need to play 15.
I will say this: the reason why I didn't choose Noctis is comparing final bosses. Because there's a reason why we're not going to do a final boss version of this because the universe would just implode. It wouldn't.
Oh yeah.
No, there would be no
It's like
uh,
X Death Grand Cross, Sephiroth, Supernova,
Kuja, who's essentially a god.
just blew up
Uh,
the planet.
Ultimecia, who's like controls time and
I control
space.
time. Like I control time. That's my thing. It's like, yeah, if it's big sword, clank hard. Uh,
But yeah, the reason why I didn't choose Noctis is because when you compared the final boss battle, yes, it's him by himself, but it's like, well, compare that bad guy to like Kuja or Sephiroth, hell, even Sin, a giant whale. I mean, I don't think Arden even has something to prove compared to the others.
yeah.
Because it's like, oh, that's cute. Hey, by the way, I just destroyed Jupiter. Uh, you got about
Oh,
five
don't
more
worry. The
seconds.
meteor's coming. The meteor's coming. Don't worry.
So yeah, cool. It comes with that agreement. And before we get to the final one, just gotta say thank you, viewers, if you're watching. If you have any
Thanks for
questions,
showing up.
please throw them down there. If you want to know anything about Final Fantasy, we're more than happy to answer them by the time we finish this all up. This honorable mention, as I said before, the thing, Vaughn from Final Fantasy 12 stands no chance in any of this.
All right.
Uh, and here's the reason being, uh, he's he's pretty much a teenager whose only battle skills is killing rats in sewers. When it comes to thieving, Zidane owns him like no tomorrow because not only that, Zidane's a stage actor. He knows how to fight with a sword. He's been training and has battle prowess. While Vaughn is, let's just say this: Vaughn disappears in his own game. So that's how bad he is. Even if you fully powered him up, he doesn't. His skills alone doesn't stand a chance. I mean, Titus could probably outmaneuver him and get a good couple of hits in.
I
Uh,
love how you call him Zidane, because for the longest time I did, until Dissidia gave him a name, which was
it's a
Zidane.
habit.
It, no, it, no, it, it's I 100% was like, Zidane, really? And then eventually I just got used to it. Like, I always called it Rayquaza, and I was like, no, it's Rayquaza. I'm like,
Mhm.
really?
And Pokemon could be its own episode on its own.
Yeah.
But the final round, we're gonna go flip a coin to see who's gonna go first on this one. But
Okay.
final round, 100%, complete
100%.
everything.
Absolute everything that they have at the disposal.
Take as
All right.
much time. So no limits on like stuff like Cloud can have the ultimate weapon. He can have it.
Cloud can have Knights of the Round.
Squall, it's in the game if you can get it.
Okay.
Squall gets all GFs, stuff like that. If it's in the game and your character can equip it or learn it, then you have it. So call it heads or tails.
I will call Tails. Tails never fails.
Tails, and I use the Pokemon
All
card.
right.
So you
Okay.
first.
Okay. Well, it's almost unfair because you might not like this, and I might not like this. The number one, I haven't even thought about 2 and 3. The number one overall
Okay.
is, without a shadow of a doubt in my mind, Lightning.
Really?
Without a shadow of a doubt,
Why is
it's
that?
Lightning. Okay, so here's my thing about Lightning. She has had 3 games.
Okay.
Lightning Returns, she is now fighting by herself. She is alone. It's not a party game. There's not like a 3-person party, a 4-person party, a 5-person party. It's just her.
Okay.
She is the goddess. She has been chosen by Bunavelza to become the goddess of the new world, to become the new I forgot what their name was. Eden? Aerith? I'll remember it eventually.
Yeah, yeah.
He goes one-on-one with God. The God who created Pulse, the God who created Cocoon. He is the God who created everything. She goes one-on-one with him.
Okay.
At the end of Final Fantasy XIII Lightning Returns, she uses the soul of every human being on both planets, merges them all into a giant space sword, and uses it to one-shot God with one slash. And I don't even think she killed him, but more like permanently crystallized him into an abyss area where he's just like for all eternity. And then eventually she becomes she sells clothes in France, which is for some reason canon. She becomes a model in France. Kind of a weird step down, but if we're talking about like at the peak of all their power, for me it's not even close. Lightning has the power to get she has the power to basically reap souls. Like her whole game is she's like, okay, I'm helping these people out. I'm going to take their soul because they're willingly giving it to me, but she has the power to take it forcibly. So she wields every soul on planet Earth and uses it as a weapon to one-shot God. And God literally 2 minutes ago blew up the planet. Blew up both planets. And she one-shot him there in space. And also, on a side note, Terra in Lightning Returns, that's one of the few games where if your character dies, you can Phoenix down after you die. So if Lightning were to die, your menu pops up and you can actually auto Phoenix life up to 8 times. So on top of that, there's Lightning.
I will say no to the Phoenix down.
Okay, that's fine.
because there are other
Uh,
broken
yes.
items that, yeah.
Second, I would actually. This is a weird one. Second. I would go Onion Knight from Final Fantasy 3.
Really? Okay.
Dead serious,
Why is
because
that?
Onion Knight, the class Onion Knight in Final Fantasy 3 is the strongest class in any Final Fantasy that uses it, whether it be 3, 5, 10, 2, or I don't know 6. I think it had like Strago use blue magic, but regardless, Onion Knight's class is like his attack power level 10, like level 1 through 10,
Hmm.
this. Level 10 through 20, this. Level 20 through 30, 50, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, all the way up until he's just not take at 99, he doesn't take damage. Every attack he does hits multiple times for 9,999 each. Multiple
Okay.
times. Like you're rolling dice, be like, okay, I'm gonna hit him 3 times, 4 times, or 5 times. And but it only works at max level. And this is 100% grinded. So Onion Knight has just the strongest armor of any person. And one of the strongest attacks of any person. And I feel like you can get rid of the other 3 members of your party and just 1v1 Cloud of Darkness with Onion Knight.
Okay.
And third, 100%, kind of want to go Tidus. I kind of want to go Tidus at 100%. Because at 100%, he's one of the only characters that can become. He starts off as like the warrior class, but at 100% of the sphere grid, he's He's everything
I was
except a
gonna bring the same
summoner.
thing up.
Yeah, he's everything except he just can't summon,
Right.
but he can do everything else in the game, including quick hit. Quick hit, just like I'm going to keep hitting you faster than like. I assume a quick hit will hit you faster than Zidane, like in terms of speed, and also his limit break hits crazy amount of times, almost the same as Lionheart for him, but he does have more HP. Well, I don't know if we're grading on everyone's
That'd be
capped
a little
at
too
4
unfair
digits.
because Final Fantasy
Let's
One
assume that
caps out at
everyone's
900 at a
HP
thousand.
caps.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's assume it's a 4-digit cap,
Hmm.
and Final Fantasy 1 is like 999.
Yeah.
I think I want to go with him because he has access to every skill possible, except
Hmm.
he just can't summon monsters. That's the one thing he can't do. Cloud can summon Knights of the Round, and while it is very effective, it's 13 very slow-moving knights. Because you notice how long that Knights of the Round takes about 3 minutes of cinematic cutscene to hit all 3 of them.
Now, to be fair, is that because of is it because
Cool
of
factor,
the
or
it's on the PlayStation
this is on the
versus
PlayStation.
what we're used to now?
True.
Because
Um,
like with example Sephiroth's Super Smash Bros. Ultimate
Ultimate. That is
to
true. We had to
Smash,
cut Supernova down
it's
to
like
about
3 seconds.
3 seconds. That is true. But for this, I would probably go Lightning number 1, like triple S
Okay.
tier, Onion Knight, and then the third place I would either go Tidus
Hmm.
or even Squall potentially, because Squall has access to all the summons, but I think the Sphere Grid is way better than drawing magic, the draw system.
Yeah.
Uh, but I think his final smash, or like the Lionheart final, like his limit break or desperation move.
Hmm.
What was it called, Matt? It was a
There's limit breaks.
limit. I was called limit break. His limit break is the strongest, I would say, of anyone.
Hmm.
I mean, even Lightning does have Army of One, where she slows down time and does crazy like it's her limit break.
Right.
But maybe I think I want to go Tidus just because of the sphere grid capabilities.
Okay.
So I'm going to go Lightning, Onion Knight, and a very close third between a bunch of people, but Tidus for third. That is my choice.
Okay. So funny enough, Tidus actually makes my top 3.
Okay.
Same reason that Sphere Grid, he becomes a tank. I mean, like, oh, I got hurt. I'm just gonna heal myself. I'm faster than all of you. I'm more athletic than all of you. Um, Hits like a truck, defensive like a truck. He's because of he goes into Waka's grid. No one's gonna be. He's not gonna be missing. He gets
Yeah.
a lot of aim boost,
Pure accuracy. Yeah.
pure accuracy,
255 accuracy
and the blue mage stuff that he can learn as well.
from Kimari. Yeah.
hmm So honestly, it's like, okay, I cast Ultima.
I
At
got
that point,
dual,
it's like
dual
I'm just
cast. Sure.
yeah, I'm gonna cast Ultima, and while that's coming your guys' way, I'm slashing her at the same time. Uh, that's why I choose Titus. Makes a big jump for me when it comes to fully uh, operational because natural athleticism, although he doesn't have the same skill, but if you can't hit your target, you can't hit your target. If your
Yeah.
target can take a hit, your target can take a hit. So that's where I agree with you on Titus does deserve to be in the top three. I also have Squall.
Okay.
Squall makes a return. Reason being is all the GFs. Essentially, they're one ups for him. So it's like, okay, I'm going to have Eden. Oh, you killed Eden? Okay, I'll have Diablos. I'll have Ifrit. I have Bahamut. I'll have. He has all these people. Yes, they take time to summon, but it also gives him the extra life. And I agree with you. His limit break is probably the best, even compared to Omni Slash. His is still probably even better.
Yeah. I think his
Uh,
hits. I think his hits a total of 19 times, and Omni Slash hits a total of 16.
mhm. And if we did add items, which we're not, if you gave Squall a hero drink, it's over. No one he could just like, okay, hero drink. I automatically have my limit break. I'm taking all of you out, and that drink lasts quite a while too. So that's a big reason why I didn't have items, just be stuff like that. And also like the auto heal, the auto resurrection. It's like, no, we're not having it.
Yeah.
Once you're out, you're out.
Right. And that's another thing that Lightning does have. Like she can be any class, so she could be like, oh, I'm losing. I'm a white mage now because she
hmm
she also had that job kind of a job system for herself. Almost. Oh, it was almost like the dress sphere system in
Yeah.
10-2.
And then absolute best goes to Vaughn. I'm just kidding. No, it's not going to go to Vaughn.
Like, yeah, almost got me. I'm just like,
The
what? Did I really miss the end of 12 that much? What happened? What do you do?
the last person in my top three is Cloud. Um,
Okay.
Ultimate weapon. You got the materia, the 4 times cut. Uh, get hit one attack times 4. Uh, Master materia. It's like, okay, I'm going to summon Knights of the Round. I'm going to summon Bahamut. I'm going to summon this. I'm going to summon. He has everything, which is 3 master materia. Um, even if with what's it called, lightnings, whatever. Even with the sphere grid, even with the other GFs, who's surviving that onslaught? Like, if he gets the chance to summon, that's it. It's game over. No one is surviving that at all. Um, so that's for me why like it's very hard to go against that because it's like, are the summons deities of their own? Are the summons just magic? Are they because a summon from Final Fantasy VIII is way different from a summon in Final Fantasy VII, and 10 and 9. They're all very different. They're very different from the Espers too. So for me, and if we're gonna jump back to Squall real quick. With Squall, he can set his abilities where like, oh, you're trying to insta kill me. Yeah, I'm immune to that. Oh, you're trying to do all this stuff. I'm immune to all this stuff. By the way, I'm going to hit you with an insta death strike because I can equip it to my thing and whatnot, or stuff like that. Um, that's where, just like the sphere grip, not as powerful, but at the same time, when it comes to like preventing like insta kills, preventing confusion, preventing anything that would be detrimental, Squall can equip it, but he can't. He pretty much wouldn't use his magic, or it's going to hurt his stats. The reason why Cloud does make the top is because for me, it's just like It's summoning in Final Fantasy VII doesn't take that long. Even with the hardware, like as you said, Knights of the Round took 3 minutes. What did and it took like 5 seconds. If it wasn't a hardware thing, how fast would that really be? Um, Knights of the Round, if anyone could survive it, it might be Tidus just because of all his stat boost and everything. But even then, Cloud can just use it again.
That is true.
So
There's no
as long
limit
as
on
he has
that
the
one.
MP, he can just keep spamming Knights of the Round. And if he runs out of MP for that, all right, what's the next strongest one that I can use? Cool.
Neo Bahamut or Bahamut Zero, I think, is the next one.
Yeah. And then I'm not sure if they have a magic drain where they can absorb MP. If he does, oh man, just
Was there Osmos in that game? I think
that's the thing. I know. I think there. I don't remember so much.
maybe it was an enemy skill.
It might be. It might have
I
been.
know that Osmos was in shoot. Oh
It
my
was
god.
in 10.
Crisis Core. Crisis Core had it.
Yeah.
As Zach could use Osmos and just drain MP and like super fast. Like, oh, okay, I just drained 200 of your MP. Now you have infinite magic, basically.
I mean, now that you bring up lightning, pretty much fighting God. At the same time, it goes back to that dilemma of all the bosses. The reason why they can never do a battle royale like this is because the universe would implode. Because Kefka becomes a god essentially. Sephiroth, he just practically can destroy the solar system.
Yes.
Uh,
And the thing is the reason why I bring that up is because Kefka destroys basically the world's now broken.
mm-hmm.
The sky's now red. The oceans are red. Most life is gone. Sephiroth, in a cinematic attack, destroys a solar system. But canonically, Bunavelza does destroy the planets. Canonically, those planets don't come back. It's they basically then at the end of that, lightning is able to take every soul of every human who ever lived throughout all history to another planet, and it looks like the live stream, so it could be like a prequel or something. They never made a Lightning 4. But canonically, that happens. In addition, she also has the ability to swap to other classes, and there are several classes which give her heavy guard,
mm-hmm.
in that she's able to instantly, an attack's coming at any point. It's not just like it's your turn, it's now my turn. I'm just gonna heavy guard and just block and do aside from having like her perfect armor set, she reduces all damage like considerably with heavy guard, and she can do that instantaneously.
All right.
And if Knights of the Round is like super fast, then we can just do that. And realistically, her MP, she doesn't use MP really. It's
mm-hmm.
like kind of like a Dark Souls stamina gauge, and it goes up really really slowly. But there's multiple classes you can equip at the same time, and you could just have like her ultimate form, and it's funny, like her strongest like form is like Yuna, is a dress sphere of Yuna, but that's DLC. But with the exception of like her ultimate weapon or her ultimate form, which is a side quest at the end of the game where you have to like get her weapon, get her armor, and I think there was one more thing to get.
Yeah, that's kind of
I digress. It's been a while, but I'm still sold on the fact that in
it.
terms of like
It's hard to argue
strength,
against.
it's hard to argue against, because I'm thinking like sure, big sword clank hard beats all of them. But canonically, I'm thinking like how strong was Lightning at the end of that game versus Cloud was very like ridiculously strong, but and we could even go further and say like at the end, I don't know if she gave up her powers, she's just hiding it because she became a Louis Vuitton model in France, which was weird.
She essentially
And then Cloud,
became Bayonetta.
she became Bayonetta, yeah. And Cloud basically just became a delivery boy at FedEx.
That's true.
Like I'm trying to think of like all these characters. Where did they go after? What happens after Happily Ever After?
well, I know.
Cecil got married and had a
Hmm.
kid, and had his kid fought the creator of all life in the universe. That was the final boss. I think it was called I think it was called the Creator. But big sword clank hard. Bart's, he just rode around his chocobo. Terra undid her hair and flew, but she's no longer a magic. She has no magic anymore. Like canonically, she all magic in the universe or in that world was gone and wiped. So she chose to remain a human and live. So she's no longer a mage. So
So
she's
then, would that
actually
change the
weak.
second round then?
No, because we're talking about the end. Like I'm talking about her and like the strength of the final battle.
Okay.
Because in literally during the final battle is when Lightning loses everything.
Right.
That's what I'm counting. If we're talking about post like credit scene, then that does change things for me. Because
Okay.
sometimes some of them actually like give up their power. Like, oh, I don't need all this ultimate power anymore. Cloud's just like, okay, all this materia. Well, actually, the meteor came down, blinding flash of light. You see Aerith, and then credits.
It's assumed that they survived.
It's assumed.
Yeah.
And you know what's? Oh, I'm just gonna throw this one theory out there, even though it's kind of a little
Yeah,
bit
go
off
for it.
topic. Is it possible that Final Fantasy VII, the entirety of the game Final Fantasy VII, is just a premonition that Aerith has for Final Fantasy VII Remake? Because if you notice at the very, very, the last shot of the entire game is Aerith's face like doing this, like at the beginning of the game with the green things. At the beginning of Final Fantasy VII
Like it's a
Remake, Aerith's
vision.
first thing is the vision. So, and Aerith seems to know a lot more in the remake than she does in Final Fantasy VII.
Huh.
So it's possible that I'm still saying that Final Fantasy VII Remake is a sequel to Final Fantasy VII.
No, no, I like that because when Sephiroth comes down, I'm gonna take a step to the right.
I'm going to take a step to the right. Like literally, like the final fight is Cloud versus Sephiroth. It's Cloud is doing the Omni Slash in that like forever world, and Sephiroth's just like, nope, block, nope, and disarm.
For,
7 seconds.
like for me, like if we're talking about how strong Cloud really is, I don't think he's all that strong. Yeah, I mean he's strong. He can do what he can do. I mean, if you count the remake, he can easily take on the Turks. He could take on the what was it, the second class, third class guy on the motorcycle.
Yeah. Shoot, what was his name?
Like it would
Yeah.
take a lot to take down Cloud. But if Cloud and Sephiroth actually had a one-on-one, Sephiroth would destroy Cloud. It wouldn't even be close. Like
Then Advent Children came out.
Yeah.
And
Well, that was a clone.
That was a clone. That
wasn't the
was a
actual
clone.
Sephiroth.
That was it wasn't really Sephiroth. It's funny that when everyone's like, "Oh, Sephiroth kills Aerith," I'm like, that wasn't really him either. It's
That's
crazy
true.
to think that
Throughout the whole game, Sephiroth's actually dead.
Sephiroth, the real Sephiroth in Final Fantasy VII has 0 lines of dialogue. The real Sephiroth is at the very end of the game, at the heart of the planet, after you fight Genova Synthesis, and he's just motionlessly in the center of the planet doing this, and he doesn't say anything.
So like yeah, the to kind of
But
go
it
off
is
your
his will
remake
to
idea.
control everything. Yeah.
Yeah, I like the idea that like those spirit things that come up and block you, it's trying to push you in that direction of the original game.
Oh, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
I feel like that giant Kingdom Hearts Heartless thing you fought at the end of the game, which I hated it to begin with, but now I kind of dig it because I just think of that as a weapon. Like an emerald weapon, a ruby
Right.
weapon, a sapphire weapon. There's this like temporal weapon where basically it's just I control the flow of time and she's going crazy. Like it's nuts.
But
Um
for me, I hated the idea you got to fight Sephiroth, just because like no.
I have
In
gotten over that for one reason.
what's that?
Because he needs you to kill the last of the plot ghosts that were tied to him.
True.
Basically,
Okay.
there were a lot of plot ghosts that were still during that final fight that were like inside Sephiroth, so he just needed you to fight him. And the last thing you do, like in the cutscene is you strike Sephiroth and a bunch of plot ghosts like scatter and then they just die.
Hmm.
So maybe he just couldn't get rid of them himself. But this is my headcanon until part 2 comes out and completely destroys it. So
Yeah,
I,
because
I
like
feel like Sephiroth could have just like wiped the floor, but he's just like, "Hey guys, I need you to like kill the rest of these plot ghosts." The because I assume that like the big guys, like the mother of all that's like making them,
mhm.
and then the plot ghosts are like kind of like antibodies, and there's a bunch of them still inside Sephiroth. It's like, "Hey guys, I can't kill these myself. Fight me right now at the begin in the first 20% of the game. Kill me fight me right now and kill these things." Okay, now they're all dead. Now I'm gonna go ahead and cast Meteor correctly this time.
Aerith still needs to die. That's just how I feel. She
Okay, I am going to give you my official number one. This is
go for
December 21st, 2020 prediction for the
it.
end of Final Fantasy VII Part 2. Go ahead and quote me on this. This is my
It's recorded.
entire recorded thing. Okay, this is my plot for Final Fantasy VII. The final thing will be for Part 2 will be the Aerith death scene. However, it will play differently. I feel Sephiroth's going to come down. Cloud's going to be like stunned. You might hear these 7 seconds until the end because it takes exactly 7 seconds for Sephiroth to drop all the way down and stab Aerith. I feel Cloud is going to somehow push her out of the way just enough, and Sephiroth, instead of stabbing Aerith, stabs through the white materia in her hair. The materia is like right here on a bow. It is like, oh my gosh, Aerith's alive. Oh gosh, the white materia is destroyed. Oh,
That's
oh. Because it's like, what can we do that's so... It's the biggest plot twist in video games. It's the Luke, I am your father of video games. And everyone knows it's coming. So what could you do
to one up it.
to one-up it? Because just like, oh my gosh, we saved her. Oh shoot, this has huge implications for the future now.
I like it.
That's my prediction. It's probably going to be wrong, but you have it right here in the year
Okay.
2020 that this is my prediction, and it's not going to happen. But that is my prediction. And back to I think we finished the.
We did. We were kind of just going on.
I kind of went on a tangent because I'm just like, oh, I'm thinking
No,
Final
but
Fantasy
for me, it's like when you think like when you, like I've had conversations with people about this, like people who are mad that Cloud made it to Smash. And it's like, well, why are you mad that Cloud made it to Smash? When you say Final Fantasy, the first person that probably comes to mind is either Cloud or Sephiroth. Those are the two that come to mind. No one says Warrior of Light.
It's like, oh, but Furion.
Yeah. No one says Cecil. No one says they might get confused and say Sora, but like close enough. But
Yeah.
no one's gonna say Squall. No one's gonna say Tidus. You think Cloud. What comes with Cloud? Aerith. For me, it's like that is the most iconic moment in video game history for the pure fact that it's like everything, like all the relationships you built with her is officially gone. Yes, that white material is the saving grace. Like she needed to die in order for it to activate, or maybe something like that.
Yeah.
I like your idea a lot, but like, it's like, will the fans love it? Will
Did the
the?
fans love the plot ghosts?
Not true.
Not really.
I like them,
And they are going in their own direction because we've established that now they can do whatever they want. The plot ghosts were literally the fans of Final Fantasy VII who wanted to be 100% by the book 1-to-1, and literally we kill the fans who wanted it 1-for-1 at the end of the game. So we could go in a new direction. I'm going to assume that Jesse and Biggs are going to be alive, and Jesse will be a singer at Gold Saucer when we finally get there, with maybe like a robot eye or something.
That'd be cool. Jessie was best girl. Just saying.
Jessie was best girl. Well, there are a lot of best girls in Final Fantasy, like the remake.
But like, it'd be interesting because like to have Aerith be like, a lot of people liked Aerith in the remake, so it's just like I feel it would definitely make an impact when you not only can just read her thoughts, but you can also hear her voice. You know everything she's saying, and it's just like, oh man, and how video games have been getting so like, oh, I can't get over this one. This one's gonna take me some time.
Yeah. It's
But
crazy that you can still watch people first blind reacting to Final Fantasy VII like 23 years later. You can find people who played Final Fantasy 7 for the first time like this year, and they're tearing up because like, oh no, I didn't know this was a thing.
I would definitely go back and play the original again if it wasn't for Fort Condor and a lot of the stupid mini games.
You could actually fail Fort Condor and win.
Yeah, I remember doing that
Dead
once.
serious, yeah.
But it
I
takes
actually did go
forever
back
though,
and play
even
it.
on the speeded up loop, because like
Yeah.
realizing when you're following Ultimate Weapon, even on the speeded loop, like this is taking forever. How did I do this before? But and one more side tangent before we wrap this up. I found my old Final Fantasy trading cards.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
so I looked at. I have a shiny Jesse. I have the shiny Chaos, and I have a couple of cards. I'm like, oh man, this is worth money. But I'm like, I'm not gonna sell these. I like these. But yeah, it's a cool game. It's just it never really. They still make cards for it. It's just
They still make cards for it,
it
and
doesn't didn't take off.
didn't really take off. The one person I know who still plays that game is Rico in CWF, who was Shulk Hogan that time. He's been Bandit
Yeah, I
Keith.
gotta
Yeah,
I gotta.
hit him up. He tried showing me at a Sac Anime once.
Yeah, I actually played Pokemon with him. But
Yeah, we played that too. So he's like really into card games and
so let's
fighting
go ahead
games.
and wrap up this before we
All
go on
right,
more tangents. But
all
we could
right.
go on tangents after. It's
We can go
whatever.
on tangents afterwards. All right,
Um,
but thank you all for being a part of this discussion. It was a lot. This is a lot of fun. Like just theory crafting and
and if there's more you want to bring in, like I'm more than happy to sit down because I like your Final Fantasy ones. I'm like, damn, I hate it, but I also love it. Like,
yeah.
it's just too. But to recap, for the first round, I said Squall, Cloud, and Noctis. Yours was
For me, it was Terra, Cloud, and I might actually put Noctis in there as well instead of Lightning, just because of how strong he is at the beginning of the game.
mhm.
Second
Second.
round,
We agreed.
uh, we
Zidane,
agreed. Zidane.
Zidane, Terra, and Lightning. Take it.
I said Zidane. Yeah, that's how much
Zidane,
it's engraved
whatever.
in my brain. Yeah, that's how much it's engraved.
And then the final one was
I had
yours is
Lightning,
yours is hard to beat.
Lightning, Onion Knight, and Titus.
Me was Titus, Cloud, and Squall. But I think I do have someone who could beat Lightning. Bayonetta. She essentially beat time and space and God himself. So
All
it's
right,
like I think Bayonetta
and
would
look
give her a
good
run
while
for
doing
money.
it.
There you go. All right. Any last thoughts?
It was a pleasure being on. I'd love to do this again with something else. But man, this was a lot of fun. All
All
right,
right.
thanks for having me on.
All right. And all of you who watch, thanks for watching. Follow if you liked what you saw, and the more you guys follow, maybe we'll get him back. Who knows? I don't know.
All right, see you guys. I'll
All
do
right. See you guys.
the
You
Final
guys have a
Fantasy
good
10
one.
thing.
Thanks for watching.